Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Adrielle and I'm currently narrating a story of my life dating back from January 2016. In a previous episode, I talked about my coaching session with Andrea. And in this episode, I am going to talk about certain things that I forgot to mention that happened in the month of March, and also certain things I forgot to mention during my coaching session with Andrea. So here it goes. So something I forgot to mention during my coaching session with Andrea was that while I was telling her my story with, Brandon and then the counterfeit and stuff like that, Andrea asked me, she says, are they still together? She's like, do you know if they're still together? Now, I was surprised that Andrea asked me that question because she has been telling us in the ministry on YouTube and on Facebook, like, stop checking on your spouse. Get out the kitchen. Stop checking on your spouse. So when she asked me, hey, do you know if they're still together as of this point and something like that, I was like, why is she asking me? I thought we're not supposed to check on our spouse. Well, I want y'all to remember that because later on it comes up and other things come up, okay? So I forgot to mention in the previous episode that after I had the Olivia Stanley dream, I did reach out to Andrea about the dream, and I just wanted to get her insight about that because I felt like she was so knowledgeable about the whole match made in heaven process. Now, I will say this, I did believe her dream interpretation skills were very shaky, but like I said, I believed she was very knowledgeable when it came to match made in heaven. So I remember reaching out to her about the dream, and she told me that I should go back to the group home and look for Olivia Stanley. Now, I knew that wasn't the meaning in the dream because I knew God didn't want me to go back to Jersey and go back to the group home. So, I did. So I did confide in Andrea about the Olivia Stanley dream. Now, another thing I forgot to mention in the month of March was that I was having dreams that I was babysitting Lily. I was playing with her. I was like taking care of her. And I remember having dreams of me being nice to Caitlin. It got to a point where I would wake up and I would start rebuking those dreams because I'm like, why is this happening? I do not want to interact with Caitlin. I do not want to be friendly with her on any level. Like, no. So one night, I remember being on Amazon and I was looking up Andrea's book. Andrea had released a book back in 2022 titled Match Made in Heaven. That was a book. So I remember reading certain pages of the book. I didn't have the money at the time in 2022 to get it. And by 2023, I decided that I wasn't going to get it because I felt like she had poured so much information in her videos. I didn't think it was any point of me getting the book. So I remember reading just like pages of it, the free excerpt on Amazon. The next thing you know, I remember seeing a recommendation of a book, and I just decided to read it. It was a Christian book. Just decided to read the excerpts, the free excerpts on Amazon. And then it started talking about my situation. And it just started saying how God wants you to be merciful. That was when it hit me. I said, okay, now I know why I'm having dreams of me babysitting Lily, playing with her, being friendly to Caitlin. God wants me to be merciful to her. Now, mind you, God never told me to pray for Caitlin. He told me to pray for Brandon. But when it came to Caitlin, God wanted me to extend mercy to her. I didn't want to do that because I was very, very frustrated as to the things that she did. Like, this girl tried to ruin my life. My dad is no longer here. Like, people have been affected by her choices. So me giving her mercy, that's not something that I was thinking about at the time. But God's like, no, I want you to show mercy to Caitlin. And to be honest, it does make sense because as children of God, God wants us to imitate him, carry out his ways, live like him. God is a merciful God. So we too are to show mercy to people. And also too, I thought about it. Like, I was like, man, I really don't know the extent to how Caitlyn's judgment is going to be. I just know that she is going to be on a bed of suffering. I know she's going to die eventually, but I don't really know the extent of what God's judgment is going to be for Caitlyn. So maybe this is a good thing that it hasn't yet happened, and maybe you should be showing mercy, Adriel. So that was what happened in the month of March that I forgot to mention in the previous episode. So now I'm going to talk about March 25th and March 28th. So March 25th, I recorded the preface episode of An Unlikely Story, and I uploaded it on that same day as well. I went to Walmart. I got boxes and other things to pack my stuff, y'all. At this point, it was like, I think, less than 2 weeks. I had to leave in less than 2 weeks, so I'm trying to get myself situated, trying to get everything done on time. Now, also, too, I did mention in, I think, the previous 2 episodes that I was going to ask Esther if I could stay with her. So at this time, March 25th, I hadn't yet asked Esther if I could stay with her. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I need to ask her before the end of the month. So that was what happened on the 25th. The 28th, okay, so the 28th was a day that Andrea posted a video, and she talked about the revelation she got about the transition to the promised land. So in the video, she said that God will expose hidden enemies as you are transitioning to the promised land. So people who you thought were your friends, people who you thought were in your corner, God is going to expose them to you, and you're going to realize that these people were actually an enemy to you, and they can't go to the promised land. So the next revelation she got was that the enemy is coming to the place you're staying. That's why you have to leave. So she said, yeah. So part of the reason why you're leaving is because the enemy is coming in and God wants to get you out of there. Now, I want y'all to remember this because it comes back later on. Another revelation that Andrea got was that God still wants to teach you things before taking you to the promised land. So basically, she was saying that before God gets you to the promised land, he's going to have you go through certain things and be in certain places that he wants to teach you concerning your promise and your purpose. And then the next revelation she got was that God will deliver your enemies in your hands to test you. Now, that was very interesting to me because I felt like the people that were my enemies, they were not going to be in my vicinity at all. So when she said that God is going to hand your enemies to you to test you, I was like, okay. Now, we'll say this. She did get these revelations from the story of David, from the time that David was running from Saul. Okay, so the last revelation she got was that as you're transitioning, God doesn't want you to focus on the prodigal and the counterfeit. He is going to handle the situation while you journey on. So I'm like, okay, if God is going to handle Brandon and Caitlyn while I'm transitioning to the promised land, so be it. Now, I'm going to stop the episode right here. Okay, so I'm going to stop the episode right here. Next episode, I'm going to talk about the Match Made in Heaven fast. And I'm also going to talk about my conversation with Esther when I asked her if I could stay with her. So if you are liking An Unlikely Story, please like, comment, and subscribe. And please also share my videos as well. And until next time, y'all. Bye.